Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am talking about the subject which planet rules over the memory or which planet will be responsible for the memory. Yesterday I had posted this in my group and on my profile also. Ki I posed the question to the Jyotish enthusiasts and learners, seekers, astrologers, everyone. Most of you have given planet Mercury to be, or most of you observe that Mercury is probably the planet that rules over the memory. And there are some, there is Mr. Garg who quoted C.S. Patel and S.S. Sareen, Wide Faldipika, that it is memory is related to Mercury. But in both those contexts, the actual translation is something else, and even in what is quoted, it is given as loss of memory. So memory and loss of memory are two different things. One, then the memory actual translation of that verse in Faldipika says Bhranti. Now Bhranti is something that is Bhranti Bham, or it is it is actually approach, probably a way of thinking. Okay, so if a way of thinking is clouded, then probably then there are some adverse decisions or factors. So that is what Bhranti actually can be roughly translated into English. Now this now let's talk about the subject. What is memory? Memory, the word for memory is Samriti in Hindi, Sanskrit text, that is Samriti or memory. That is actually quoted in Faldipika chapter 2 about planets, and in reference to planet Jupiter, it is said Samriti ka gyan, or knowledge about memory or memory. So it clearly shows Jupiter to be the planet associated with memory. Now Jupiter is also associated with higher intelligence, while Mercury is intellect, it is higher intellect. Probably again, it refers to it. As regards science, medical science, these two, Mercury refers to grey matter and Jupiter refers to white matter in the brain. Now white matter is responsible for all these actions like memory and all. So while the function of grey matter is on sensory point of view, it is on sensory point of view, it governs senses through the neurons. So Mercury is a neuron, while Jupiter is the actual memory and the myelin sheath that protects nerve ends. So it is a myelin sheath also. It is made of protein and fat. Now, as per the Ayurveda part of it, Ayurveda says it is Udanvata. That is that vayu that rises from thorax towards the brain and governs some major functions as related to the body functioning is concerned. As regards one of the functions of Udanvata is as given in Ayurvedic texts, Charak Samhita and all, is memory. again it is memory. So now what is Udanvata? Udanvata is associated with planet Jupiter because it is ether and it is actually a vacuum, or ether is an empty space. So thoracic region is considered to be empty, and it is where blood mixes with oxygen. So, and Jupiter is called to be Jiva for nothing. So in all, it all concludes to one certain factor, and that is that Jupiter is memory. So some of you have written moon. Moon is mind. The definition of mind is much broader than what we presume or assume. It contains everything. It contains the intellect, it contains the brain, it contains the thought process, the circumstances also. The circumstances present at that time. Thoughts and actions also. So man or mind of moon is very important. But it is not a memory. Memory is a part of it, but it is not actually a memory. That is why planet moon is considered to be very important. On all transits, as per the classics, are seen from the natal position of moon. That potentially gives you an answer, because it covers the influence. What is mind? Mind actually is a magnet that attracts all influences of various planets. So the transits are seen from the planet. Some had said Saturn. Now Saturn is associated with decay, degeneration, and it is definitely not a memory. Saturn, in fact, is considered to be a planet of masses, and it represents the classes who do not have voice, the working class. What Saturn represents is practical wisdom, that is, wisdom or experience gained from the work sphere, from the practical aspect of it. So it is not a memory again. So to conclude, Faldipika chapter 2, significations of the planet Jupiter, clearly define Jupiter to represent memory. I would specially say that few of my Priyanka Chauhan, she actually quoted the text here, Faldipika here. Priyanka Chauhan she has done, she probably was right on to it. But again, there is much more to it. The Ayurvedic perspective, the medicine perspective, the modern medicine, it is white matter, and the white matter is governed by Jupiter. As per Ayurveda, it is Udanvata, and again it is governed by Jupiter. So the memory is under the domain of planet Jupiter. Thank you all. Thanks a lot.